Alrighty folks, so here's a quick little update. We finally got everything finished on this front suspension. So like I said, I got to go back and we're going to revisit this later, because if you watched the videos before, you know why. It's the tie rod issue. So it was wrapped up, sitting on the ground, and now went ahead and got both wheels back on it. I got to set the toe on this. Got the steering wheel, fairly straight, and it's a rough way of doing it, but don't mind the horn ring. That's can't really go by that. It's got some issues, so you can see. If you ever have to remove these, you just twist them and they come right off, so don't go by that. But we got the steering wheel straight, and well, straight enough anyway. Still got just a tiny bit. It's about how much play we got in it there, and we can probably get that out in the steering box. So now we might have a little bit of play in that drag link, because I have not bought a kit for it yet. I will later on. That's why we're making videos on the suspension on this thing, and we're going to revisit one final time, and that will be it. But we got it back together enough to where now we can finally take our attention here and start working on this motor and get it running again. So it has no coolant in it whatsoever. I bypassed the heater core, don't have a choice there, and I had to fix some of the wiring. I made new wiring to the oil pressure sensor all the way down there, and then I fixed the one for the temperature gauge, and I also run a hot to the ignition coil. Got that taken care of, and now I still got to run one more wire. It's been so long since I worked on this, I kind of forgot where I left off. But I got to run one wire from the ignition side of the ignition switch to the solenoid, and that should allow it to where you got the key turned all the way over in the crank position. It should crank, and that should fix all that and straighten all that mess out. And before, I could never crank this engine with the key. You never could. You could turn the key on and it would give power to the coil and all that when it did have points, and it wouldn't crank over. The original owner, well, he wasn't the original owner, but the fellow that had this car before, bless his heart, he was a good fella. I need to oil this door hinge up just a little bit. But I don't mind creaks and groans on these old vehicles. You can't blame them. They're getting old. I get creaks in my bones too, and I'm, getting old too. But we have rigged up a switch down here for the engine to crank over. He had a starter button down here, and he used that, which is not the correct thing to do. And this is the bracket that's for the hood release cable. These cars had a hood release on them, and which is nice, because you can lock the car and you can't open the hood if the car's locked. So it kind of makes it nice. But that, as you can see, is long gone, so I got to get another cable and fix that. That's not a big deal. And by the way, if you ever set the parking brake on these cars here, don't pull back on this. It goes down just like that. Now this one's supposed to pop back up, but the springs are kind of worn. But it's supposed to be in that position right there, and then to release it, you just pull it down. So just keep that in mind there. So if you ever set the parking brake, and I'm not scared to set it, I'll set it right here. So if you ever got it set, you just come down here and just pull this down like that. Sometimes a little trick here, I'll take my foot and put underneath it and kind of help it the rest of the way up, and then I'll push that back up. But yeah, it's kind of weird, but make sure it releases all the way. So you got to have that up in order to set it, and then just push it down. It should release it. So spring's a little worn out on that, so that's why. So I'll just make sure that's all the way up, and then once it is, just push it up good enough. And we got a good fur pedal too, so that's good. Adjusted the brakes on the front, and like I said, have not did the back yet. It's no point, it's kind of pointless because we got to rebuild the rear end, but they are working. You can hear them. So that's good. So, and I gotta figure out something about this radio, and I'm gonna mount that radio inside the glove box and kind of more permanently, so it's not just flopping all over the place. And I gotta hide my wires there. And you know, I did take the carpet out of the car. The carpet had to go. It's just no choice. It stunk. It was disgusting, and it's falling to pieces. And they dyed it like they dyed the interior. They just completely ruined the interior on this car. And you know, it had to go. And the only rust hole we actually got on the whole floor is right here. And that's it. And it's not even that big. It's actually about right in here, about that kind of size. So they just riveted it down. So, you know, that's what they did back then, but we're gonna fix that and repair it. But these floor pans still got all the factory paint on them. A little bit of surface rust back here, but not too terrible. But that's just from wearing, just from getting in and out of the car. That's why the paint's all wore off there. But I mean, these floors are very solid, and they are just filthy dirty. And a little bit of surface rust, but they're not eat through anywhere. Same way right there. It's just dirty, and it looks worse than what it is on camera. The only spot on the whole floor is right there, and right here under this seat here, it's got a little area right in there where the two panels join together and lap on top of each other. That's it. So this car got very solid rocker panels, so the trim's kind of coming off a little bit. So this car's very solid. Now back in this area and here, starting about in the middle of this wheel well all the way through there, is nothing but Bondo. I know it is. I mean, you can see it, but not too worried about that. I'm gonna get a body hammer and straighten this out, and that's from when I cut the tree down. It just went shh. Almost missed it. Was hoping it missed it, but it didn't. But you know, it could be fixed. So I'm gonna pound that out. And I know a fella's got another Edsel that he can cut this section out if I have to, if it comes down to it, and I will replace that. That will be fixed. Like I said, if I can fix, you know, somebody screw up with, you know, Plymouth fenders and all that, and put a heater cord in a Durango, I can fix that. So that's nothing. And especially rebuilding the front suspension on this. This is like level 10, you know. So, you know, I like this stuff. You know, I like hard jobs like that. I like getting further advanced, so to speak. But all right, so I'm gonna end the video here. I'm gonna hush up, not blab too much, don't want to drag it out. And all our work now is going to be concentrated under the hood, and it'll pretty much about wrap it up. So, and we'll have some videos coming here soon on, I always say it, but we're going to have one on the rear end on this car. We're going to have, well, it'll probably be more than one. It'll probably be several videos on putting wheel bearings and wheel seals in this rear end, and I'll list all the part numbers and everything. That way, if y'all got a car like this, even a regular 959 Ford, y'all don't have to pull your hair out trying to figure out, you know, what part numbers you need and all that good stuff. So, and I will try and go into as much full detail as possible. And I listed a lot of part numbers for the front end on this car, and most of them are pretty much the exact same. The only thing I even changed, so you can still use all them part numbers and everything will work just fine. But ignore the 63 drag link. Like I said, it will work, but you'll have, the only way to get the correct geometry is, I'm sure you could have a idler arm made to correct the geometry and have the end machined out so it will fit that idler arm. Other than that, I mean, it will work, but that's only really 2 issues there. But if you go that route, and I'm still considering going that route later on, so I'm gonna figure out something, because we're gonna get rid of this end on this drag link. I just don't like that, and that's just, to me, is just not safe. Just not a safe design at all. I don't like it, but you know, you can see it. But I did put a new cotter key in it and bend it up. Look at this camera work here. I got that straightened out there, and got the sun in the way. But put it in there like it's supposed to be, and got that all done. So I'll tell you what, this car is should steer fairly good. It still have a little bit of play in it, because I have not rebuilt that drag link, and the steering box, you know, might be a little worn out. So it still have a little bit of play, but it shouldn't be too bad. But all right, so I'm in the video here, and all our work is going to concentrate under here. Probably going to go up, get a solenoid, and get some plugs for this thing, and figure out something about these plug wires. And I got another cap and rotor of another HI I'm going to put on here, and we're going to get rid of some of this, you know, I just don't like the rear plug wires, the rear cap and all. It was good when I bought it, you know, it works awesome. But I think one day I'm going to end up putting the points back in it, truthfully. And I kind of just like the original look better. So I haven't quite decided on that yet, but I think I'm going to end up doing that eventually. But all right, see y'all later, and that's where we're at. So at least now she's sitting back on her own weight now, so that's good. So this has been a nightmare. Oh, and I do have to fix this seat. I had to unbolt this seat to get the carpet out of here, so I still got to bolt that up. And I do have all the original bolts and everything. I got to go through them, see what's what, and if I need to replace the hardware or not, because I'm not putting rusty bolts back on this car. You know, if they need to be replaced, I'll replace them. Not a big deal. We're not putting rusty bolts back in. Now, if they're perfectly fine and there's nothing wrong with them, I'll reuse them. But you know, I try to reuse as much original bolts as possible, because I like the good old American, you know, bolts when they made them right, and not the China junk. But anyway, that's what we got. One day I cannot wait. We'll have the Edsel there, 59 Biscayne there, 57 Plymouth there, and I want to get a picture of all 3 of the front of these cars and the back of these cars and have it framed. It'd be so cool. See y'all later. Bye.